Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you very much for joining me here. I hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to take a quick look at Luna, and before we do, peek over at Bitcoin, see what's up with that guy, and kind of hopefully anticipate what's going to happen next. So let's go ahead and see here. First of all, with Bitcoin, we can kind of see that we do have this strong resistance level, right? At least it was a previous support at about 46,700. Its potential resistance right now until the one-day candlestick closes. We got about 3 more hours left of time frame here. So my hope is that the one-day candlestick can close above 46.7. If it doesn't, we might see a continuation of the downside. I also removed that, but I'll go ahead and add it again. And you can kind of see Fibonacci retracement levels where we're at here. We've got a pretty strong resistance as well at about 47,700. So ultimately, Bitcoin is not out of the doghouse yet. It didn't make higher highs and higher lows like we were anticipating a couple of days ago. In fact, we saw a pretty much strong red day yesterday. So I pretty much told my community, hey, we got to pause the altcoins for now, just based on that sentiment alone. Looks like there's a recovery today, but don't let that fool you. Weekends are very green in most cases, and we do commonly see red Sundays and Mondays. So just be careful of that. Saturday could essentially just be, this could be, false positive. Could just be the market kind of, regaining itself as well. Everyone got paid yesterday. That's pretty standard for a weekend, right? But for right now, try not to, second, I don't know, just don't consider this done, right? It's still making lower highs, still making lower lows on the one-day chart, and that's not a good sign at all. Okay, so Bitcoin is not in great shape. In fact, one last thing we want to look at is a simple moving average. We're now effectively below the 200-day simple moving average on the one-day chart, and that's notoriously a strong support or resistance level. So could essentially be a new resistance. Hard to say just yet, but it's moving that way. Okay, so ultimately, what that basically just means for us is we could see a breakdown to 42,000 eventually over the next couple of weeks. It's standard for this time of year to have this type of I guess, downside. Yes, the 4-year cycle has contrary information. I recognize that. And I do still believe the 4-year cycle is valid and we're going to see an increase from Bitcoin. I just don't think it's going to happen right away. This is a unique year. We didn't have a 2021 and 2017, if that makes any sense. And there's just a lot going on. So just bear that in mind. This being said here, we can kind of see that, the price is effectively below a resistance. And until then, we got to proceed with caution and not get too overly optimistic. It's great some of the altcoins are pumping today, but it's also detrimental because it could really give us a pretty bad day early next week. We just kind of got to wait it out, I guess, for lack of better terms. Okay, so just know that not great, not good, not bad. No, mostly neutral, I guess you could say, but technically we're still bearish on the short term for Bitcoin. Now, before we jump into Luna here, I just want you to know I'm not a financial advisor. I just love teaching people how to trade. This is my full-time job, and I just find great satisfaction in helping people become more self-sufficient. So I have a trading community with that design purpose. I send out signals. I'm building a trading academy as well to go along with that. That'll be done here in just under a month. And next month's gonna be a big month for us, so we can have a good, strong foundation for a lot of our new members, also current members, to get you up to speed as best as possible, right? So that's the whole point of this, to get you self-sufficient so you can trade for a lifetime. Now, taking a look here at Luna, we can see that we got the 50-day simple moving average working as a support level. That worked very well. We've in fact seen 5 green days since then. So that little sell-off on the 13th wasn't that terrible. Good place to be able to add to your position essentially, because we're up about somewhere in the range of 15 to 20%, actually closer to 30% since then. So all good stuff. The 50-day simple moving average working as strong support. We've got 50 on the RSI that essentially the price had bounced off of. And we've also got a MACD convergence occurring right now. So that's ultimately a good sign. Just bear in mind that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to see it just blast off from here. It's kind of already done that. The one-day MACD conversion isn't as impactful as the 4-hour, essentially, in my personal opinion. Again, different time frames for different things, but that's something we'll look at here in a moment. In fact, why don't we just go ahead and peek right at that right now? And you can see we already had a convergence back on the 14th. That's when the price first initially took off. Then, of course, we had this bounce here as well. And then ever since then, it's pretty much just been progressing upwards with a nice sideways consolidation between about 64 and 68. So Luna is in very, very good shape here. It's exuding a lot of good bullish qualities, things that we like to see, and ultimately it doesn't look like it's having any sign of slowing down. We got this nice little reset here too, so if we look at TD sequential, we can see that even though we got this 1 through a 9, we're consolidating right around $71, $72. So if we can get the price to go sideways for just say a day or two from here, then we'll absolutely be able to leg up to break its all-time high. Will it shoot up right now and do that? I mean, maybe, right? I mean, we never truly know, but TD sequential is telling us it needs a little bit of a cooling off period right now. Okay, so we got to understand that. All good things though. Ultimately, pretty much I haven't seen a single thing here so far that's bearish. And what that basically just means is we should expect the price to continue. It shouldn't sell off anytime soon. Again, pending Bitcoin doesn't tank to 42,000. The fact that it's doing as well as it is right now with everything else going down, it's a testament to how good a quality it is, right? Obviously, there's probably some social sentiment involved. I recommend looking into that on your own time, but for the most part, we can see here that we've got some healthy patterns. And what I mean by that is, if we take a look at this, we can see the price increase up over, right? If we get this continuation of this nice staircase pattern jumping within each one of these Fibonacci retracement levels, we're going to be able to see some pretty good stuff here, right? We're probably going to be able to break that. So in the next review, I'll go ahead and draw out new Fibonacci. Maybe we just do that here today, kind of see where the price is going to go here soon. In fact, we might want to anticipate that because it could very well continue to break its all-time high. And when it does, keep in mind, breaking an all-time high is a pretty big deal for a lot of coins like this. They have a tendency of taking off very quickly, especially if we see some stability from Bitcoin soon. Imagine what Luna would be doing right now if Bitcoin wasn't being such a jackass, right? It'd be nice to see that price increase. The other thing we might also see as well, and this is a very common characteristic when coins shape up the way that they did, we might see a cup and handle pattern where the price will inevitably break out. So just note that we're not, gonna explode tomorrow. I mean, granted, this is not a bad gain, but you're looking at maybe 5 to 10% at best, I would say, in the next 24 hours. But it's more likely than not going to do that. It just needs to cool down and consolidate. So let's take a look at that. What I mean by that is that we saw a 9 on TD sequential for the 4-hour. Kind of tells us it's fairly exhausted on the 4-hour chart, right? So to get that reset, we need to have some consolidation for no less than 4 candlesticks. So 4 times 4, 16. We need about 16 hours of consolidation. If we look at the 1-hour chart here, we can see that the price action hit a 9. It's got a reset now. We're at a 4. So potentially we do have, 5 to 9 more hours worth of continuation. That's potential, not foolproof by any means, but that definitely is something worth noting. Just note also, though, that we did see a nice solid increase here from a 1 to a 9 to complete that cycle for TD sequential, and we're looking at about a 17% gain in the last 24 hours. So if we saw 17% in the last 24 hours, should we expect another 17% in the next 24? Not likely, but it's potential, if that makes sense, right? So you kind of got to think about it. And ultimately, I wouldn't say we're going to see Luna explode, but I also don't see any reason why it would want to come down, right? So I would just say to continue dollar cost average. I know a lot of my community members are pretty good in the sense of having taken early entry here. So keep your positions open, try not to sell too much, but it wouldn't hurt to trim a small amount when we get closer to that all-time high. And when it comes back down by the dip at the next lowest Fibonacci retracement level, somewhere in the range of about $70, $71, which is just below where the price action's at now. So ultimately, based on what we see here so far, we're looking good. Let's go ahead and see what the cloud is telling us. And this is awesome too. I love this. This basically tells us we have strong potential for the price to continue because we got this nice conversion line above the baseline, right? It's not even planning to intersect anytime soon. The lagging span is very free and clear of any price action. In fact, it came potentially close here to this wick and bounced right off. So ultimately, we're looking very good here in this sense, whereas the cloud, being a conservative indicator, is telling us to leave our positions open. So should you add to your position? Sure, why not? Should you take a new position? Also not a bad idea, right? Just keep in mind that, the likelihood of it coming back down is greater than it continuing upwards. And what I mean by that is just that it may not come down significantly. If it does, it would be the next lowest Fibonacci retracement level, about 67. Again, pending Bitcoin doesn't misbehave significantly, we should be in pretty good shape to see continuation from Luna. That's the ultimate scenario here. So, all good things. I see nothing that is bearish at all. The only little factor that you need to recognize is the fact that regardless of how great Luna is, it is still susceptible to Bitcoin sell-offs, at least the more extreme ones. So if we do see a 5 to 10% downgrade from Bitcoin, you bet your butt you're going to see about a 10 to 15% correction on Luna. Not terrible, it's expected, but again, par for the course, right? We're kind of used to that. But also note that Luna's doing tremendously better than other coins right now. We got to also understand that that's a very positive thing in the grand scheme of things, because ultimately, Luna is one of those things where it's going to continue to progress upwards, and that tells us there's probably a pretty good chance of longevity and big picture returns. So are you going to get 2, 3, 4x from Luna? Not quite, but I do think 2x is likely in this cycle. But again, I've got to be able to break those highs. Let's do one last thing here and call it a day. Let's go ahead and pull up the Fibonacci retracement and see just kind of based on the current price action where we could see the price continue if we get the same type of response. So in other words, we got 5 days of trading data here since it hit its lowest point to its current. So in 5 trading days, just bear this in mind, we got a total of about 42% gain. So in order to see that same distance, that same length of growth, or the same amount, that'd be another, but close to 29% growth from here. So to get 29% gain, it would put us about $95 as a round number, ultimately the next 5 days. So Luna has potential in the next 5 days to essentially hit $95. Okay. Is that guaranteed? No, of course not, but it's got healthy continuation patterns. It's doing very well in the face of danger, right? Which is Bitcoin being a jackass. And in this sense here, it's going to probably continue up to do very, very well. But we got to just focus on the fact that, truth be told, we still need to break the all-time high, right? And the all-time high is presently really close to about $78. So we got this resistance channel here that we're going to be able to see some type of potential rejection, right? Between what, 78 and just say 79. So that's the resistance channel. So just be mindful, the price will probably come up to there, test it, possibly reject, fulfill that handle for the cup, right? And then continue upwards. It's a very common characteristic for coins performing this way. We saw it with Solana and a handful of other coins earlier in the year. So just be mindful that could happen. We may just continue to blast through it, but I think it's more likely than not to break its all-time high in the relative near future. And I would say in the next 5 days, we have that. It has that propensity to do so. We just need to be mindful of how Bitcoin's behaving. So set your alerts. If Bitcoin surpasses 45,000 to the downside, we can expect a bit of a slowdown from Luna, at least initially. Maybe not long-term, but initially we'll see that. Let's just be aware of that. But if you're like a long-term Luna holder, just keep adding to your position. It's totally safe. Again, in most cases, right? We've got those little caveats, but for the most part, we're looking good. I hope you understand what I'm trying to get at. And obviously, hopefully you found benefit. If you do, comment below. If you're not currently a member, please consider subscribing, of course. Building out, again, a trading academy, essentially, for our members and future members, of course. And then ultimately, just transitioning from Patreon over to a website, it's going to be a tremendously better option. So don't hesitate to register through Patreon, of course, but we're going to transition away from that so it's better for everyone, specifically the billing, because that's just kind of a pain in the tail. So you'd understand what I mean by that. If you're currently a member, you know what I'm talking about. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thanks so much for your time. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.